So welcome back, everybody, to another episode of A&C Reads. Today, we're still reading 49 Hours by ScribeOfRhapsody, and we're on Chapter 2, Hour 0 of 49. My name's Amanda.
And I'm Chris.
And let's get this started. Ignis grunted as his toes were trampled upon for approximately the 18th time that night.
Sorry.
Noct winced, looking caught between feeling guilty and fed up. Ignis sighed, waiting for the throbbing to die down once more. If he'd learned anything in the past week, it was that the Prince of Lucius had positively no sense of rhythm, none whatsoever. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that these lessons were a request specifically from the king himself.
You're moving into the third step far too quickly, Noct, and your steps are too large.
Noct huffed, pulling his hands away from Ignis and stepping back to cross his arms. Ignis couldn't blame him for that. Neither of them were particularly prone to random acts of physical contact, such as Prompto and Gladio's claps on the shoulder, and the two of them having to attempt to dance together could only be described as entirely awkward at best.
Not my fault you're as tall as an Anak.
Noct huffed again.
And you told me to take bigger steps yesterday.
Patience. He would be patient.
That was during a waltz. This is the carbuncle trot. Right.
Which still, I love the word carbuncle trot. I want carbuncle trots to exist.
Yeah, I can understand why. Because I'm actually picturing a bunch of carbuncles doing the foxtrot.
Mm-hmm. Which would be the most adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Noct scratched the back of his head.
Waltz is the super boring one. It's the elegant one, yes.
Personally, I called him English again! For people who don't know, this is our second time recording this, and both times I've called him English on the exact same lines. I can English.
You English so well, you call Ignis English.
Yes. Personally, Ignis was rather fond of waltzes.
It's boring. At least this one's more exciting to watch. He
He lowered his voice to a mutter.
Even if I still don't see why I have to learn it. Not.
Ignis pinched the bridge of his nose.
We've been through this. Yeah, I know. I'll need it for official ceremonies. Except my dad doesn't dance at those. He never has. Even before the king.
Ignis dropped his hand.
Well, of course not. He
snapped his mouth shut, realizing what he was about to say. Noct frowned.
What? Nothing. Pay it no mind.
Noct's frown deepened.
No. What is it?
Of course he wasn't going to let it drop. Ignis met his prince's gaze softly.
Your mother knocked. Your father has never had someone to dance with.
Noct's eyes fell.
Oh, yeah. I guess that would probably have something to do with it.
Well, this lesson had gone downhill quickly. After a few moments of silence, Ignis cleared his throat.
Well, Astral's willing you will have some lovely woman to dance with even decades after you take the throne.
Noct's eyes bulged momentarily.
Geez, Specs, isn't it a bit early to start planning my 50s? I'm 17.
Ignis chuckled.
I was merely speculating. Now...
Shit. Sorry.
Well then, the world apparently does not want me to read the rest of that line.
No.
There's no way to backtrack.
Be right back.
I was merely speculating. Now I do believe that's good enough for tonight, since you have school in the morning. I remember school. I do not miss school.
I remember you were telling me earlier that they made you dance at school.
Yeah. Cadillac, they made me dance the Cadillac Ranch. I'm pretty sure they made me do a waltz, which is really awkward when when you're one of the few tall people in the class, and it's like, okay, we have to get you a dance partner that's relatively the same size.
So did you have to dance with another boy?
No, they still paired me up with a girl. We also had some tall girls in the class.
Okay.
My only problem was yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
My only problem was the girl I wound up dancing with was someone my friend wanted to dance with. So it was a little awkward.
Ignis moved over to the couch to retrieve his jacket.
Just remember, your steps are in pattern. Quick, slow. Listen to some music to find your rhythm. If you can't find it on your own. Yeah, I'm not listening to this crap in my free time.
Noct plopped onto his couch, grabbing some orb from the table in front of him and tossing it from hand to hand. Ignis sighed, folding his jacket over his arm.
As you wish. We have your next lesson tomorrow evening. Then, dear Astrals, Nox, do be careful with that.
Nox stopped tossing the magical flask.
Oh, chill, Specs. I've been really good with this. Ladies and gentlemen, English. Oh, chill, Specs. I've been getting really good with this stuff. That is no excuse to literally throwing something. Bleh. That is no excuse to literally. Bleh. That is no excuse to literally throwing around.
To be literally throwing around explosives in your apartment.
That is no excuse to be literally throwing around explosives in your apartment.
Ignis moved over and gently plucked it from his hand.
That sentence was a lot more difficult than it should have been.
Yep.
Even if you are careful with it, a guest could knock it from the table. I take it you don't wish for Pronto to become a hole in the floor.
That image still makes me giggle. We made a dirty joke the last time we recorded this that I won't repeat for the sake of YouTube.
I still kind of want to repeat it, but I'll go with you on this one.
Let's just say Pronto's got a tiny hole.
And Gladius might be a little too big for it.
No, we made the same joke again. Oh, I couldn't resist. Although, oh gosh, what did I say? Okay, moving on.
1 second, I have to get this laughing fit. Okay, fine.
Noctis grumbled. Ignis tucked the fire flask into his coat pocket.
Why do you even have that here?
Noct shrugged.
Leftovers from training. Forgot I had it on me until I got home. I'll return it to the training area. Can we stop for a second and appreciate that Noctis forgot that he had an explosive flask in his pocket?
That's like being a bomb engineer and forgetting and you accidentally bring a bomb home.
I was thinking more like forgetting you had a stick of TNT in your pocket, but let's go with that one.
Nah, I think TNT is less dangerous. You have to light TNT. With magic flasks, all you have to do is chuck them and they explode.
Dear God, they're grenades.
Yes, they are. Except they're grenades without pins. They can go off without any excess. Like literally, if you knocked it off a table, it could go off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, magic flasks are dangerous. That's why Ignis was like, "Dear Astrals."
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Ignis headed for the door.
Good night, Highness. See you tomorrow, Specs.
It was still early in the 22nd hour of the day when Ignis arrived in the parking garage beneath his apartment. Home at last for the night. Now he needed only go over the documents he was currently carrying with him, and then he could turn in for the night. Grabbing the case that held the documents, Ignis shut his car door. He frowned faintly, looking around. It seemed darker than usual in the parking garage tonight. The familiar buzzing of his phone drew his attention away from the lights, and he pulled out his phone and started walking. He gave the screen a brief glance before answering.
Good evening, Gladio. Hey, Iggy. Hey, Iggy. Sorry for the lateness of the call, but I got a favor to ask you. No apologies necessary. What was it you needed?
What in Eos? It was darker than normal. How many lights were off?
We're out.
Shut up.
You know that cake you made... Sorry, one second. You know that cake you made a few weeks back that you let me take home? Well, Iris has been raving about it ever since. And her birthday's in a couple of weeks.
Ignis chuckled.
Ah, I see. I would be happy to recreate that particular recipe for her, of course.
Wait, was that... Footsteps, echoes. They weren't his own.
Thanks, Iggy. I owe you one. Gladia?
Ignis cut him off sharply, keeping his voice low and calm.
Are you with your father? Yeah, why?
Ignis tightened his grip on the handle of the briefcase.
I'd like to speak with him, please. Sure, 1 second.
There was a pause as the phone changed hands, and Ignis picked up the echoes again. An average person would likely have missed them while on the phone, or dismissed them as their own, but no, he studied these types of situations far too much for that.
Yes.
Ignis released a breath he didn't know he'd been holding in.
Okay, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce that again.
Amasitia.
Okay. Mr. Amashita. My apologies for interrupting your night, but I'm 90% certain I'm being trailed. Tailed. Where are you?
Claris's tone turned cold and professional in an instant.
Parking garage, my apartment building.
Breathe in.
Do you have any classified information on you?
Breathe out.
Yes. Any way of disposing of it?
It had rained that day, but there was no water here. The garage was dry, no window to throw them out of, but he did have one option. It was risky, but it was all he had. The fire flask sat snugly in his pocket.
Potentially. That's your priority then. Understood.
He was almost to the elevator now. His tail would have to act soon.
I'll have the glaives on their way momentarily. Buy as much time as you can. Of course.
The steps were close now, any moment.
And Ignis? Give him hell. I'll do my best. Godspeed.
The line went dead, and Ignis stopped walking, dropping his phone to the ground before crushing it with the heel of his boot. He would take no chances of them being able to break the encryption. He raised his voice, and it was jarring even to him in the quiet of the garage.
I'm afraid your approach was less stealthy than you intended.
The first step of buying time, attempting to get his persecutors talking. Persecutor. Okay. I would have assumed that would have been pursuer. Once a fight started, it would only last so long, no matter which way it went. He had to stall here as long as possible. Ignis slowly reached inside his coat pocket, retrieving the flask with his right hand as he gripped the case with his left. He swiveled around to face the rest of the garage, making sure his expression was shuled into something natural, unreadable. There was a span of silence so long that someone else might have started to think they were mistaken and resumed walking. Ignis stayed absolutely still, waiting.
You're quite observant, Lucian.
Lucian. There went any small hope he had that this might be a normal mugging or something along those lines. Ignis swallowed, breathing slowly to calm his heart rate as an armored Imperial stepped into what little light was left in the area. The man oozed an attitude of superiority as he smirked, several men flanking him. These odds were not in Ignis's favor.
I don't suppose you are all lost and in need of directions.
I don't dispose?
I don't suppose you all are lost and in need of directions.
1, 2, 3. There were at least 4 men aside from the main Imperial. How had they done this? How could they have gotten this many men through Insomnia's defenses?
I see you're a witty one, but I doubt that will last.
The Imperial's gaze locked onto the briefcase.
I'll be needing those.
Ignis raised an eyebrow.
Do you have a particular interest in the You have a particular interest in the history of agriculture in the
Clang
region.
The Imperial's expression twisted to irritation rather quickly.
Don't insult my intelligence.
Ignis scoffed.
You're about to either try and kill me or take me captive. I think I'm well within reason to insult you however I like.
The Imperial was not amused.
I just pictured Tumlet going, we are not amused.
Yes. Oh, that just made me think of like a cat meme, like a grumpy cat going, I am not amused.
Except it's a cat meme with Tumlet's face on the cat.
Yeah, not as funny. I just want to punch it in the face.
Exactly. You have an option here, Lucian. I can promise you things that will go much better for you if you should cooperate.
Cooperate with the Empire? Over his rotting corpse would they get these documents, but he couldn't afford to say that. Now wasn't the time to keep provoking. He held his tongue for just a few seconds, appearing to consider the offer. Hoping it didn't seem too forced or fake, he let the ridge set of his shoulders slack and his eyes drop.
Let's take one moment to appreciate that the time for provoking will be next.
Yes! Sassy Ignis!
It will always be my favorite tag that I've ever seen. Sassy, uncooperative Ignis.
Yup.
My family. If I cooperate, do I have your assurance they will not be harmed?
As if that was even a concern. They couldn't have the manpower or resources in the city for anyone he cared about to be in danger. The Imperial put a hand over his heart, looking pleased.
You have my word.
Oh yes, he was probably very clean on not... clean? He was probably very keen on not ending this in a fight.
Well, it's Tumelt, so we don't know if he's clean or not.
Probably not. Well, actually, he's probably one of those, like, over-cleanly bastards who's, like, doesn't even like touching the hands of people he considers dirty.
Or beneath him.
Yes.
Well, we didn't specialize what kind of clean he was, so he might still be dirty in other ways.
Yeah.
Now, those papers, if you would.
Ignis subtly nodded, laying the case on the ground. He kicked with just enough force to slide it about halfway between them.
A wise choice.
The Imperial had beckoned his men forward, 2 of them moving for the briefcase and 2 for Ignis himself. His palms felt sweaty beneath his gloves, and he clenched the flask tighter. Just a few more moments. One Imperial's fingers wrapped around the briefcase's handle, and Ignis whipped his arm around, spiking the flask onto the concrete beside the case. In a split second, the flask was in the air. Ignis sent up a silent flare. Flare? Silent prayer.
To be fair, there's going to be a flare in a few seconds.
Yeah. Headphone warnings. It's going to get loud for a second. He didn't know how powerful the spell was. It might be nothing, something that would fail at what he needed it to do, or it could kill all of them right now. He turned to his side, shielding his head with his hands on the chance that it might help. When he thought back on it later, Ignis would realize that the Imperial that had been about to grab him was the only thing that saved his life, a human shield that kept the blast from hitting him in full force. As things were, all he could suddenly see was fire and smoke, and all he could hear was the ringing of his ears as he hit the wall next to the elevator and collapsed to the floor. Well, that was the documents taken care of, at least. Yeah, and the 4 men. Ignis blinked, trying to drag himself off the ground. That couldn't be all of the Imperials. They weren't all close enough. He willed his daggers to appear in his hands, but they stubbornly refused, remaining stuck in the armature and shrouded by his unfocused mind, just out of reach. He could only watch, reflexes too dull at the moment to intervene, as the main Imperial that had spoken to him rushed at him from out of the smoke and landed a gloved punch across his face. In that instant, the ringing stopped, the confusion stopped. All was silent. All was dark. And then he lurched into awareness to find his hands tied. Ignis clenched his fists. Give them hell, Clarice had said. Oh, Ignis would most definitely would. End. So that was chapter 2.
Again.
Again, because we're getting in a habit of double recording all of these.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your opinion on chapter 2, Chris?
Sassy and cooperative Ignis.
That'll be coming in the future.
No, that will be getting worse in the future.
Yes.
We have seen the light of how much of a pain Ignis can be at times. Anyway,
yeah.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.